All right, so we'll start with one of our distinguished professors and the leading figures of the English departments in Algeria, Professor Mohamed Miliani, whose talk is entitled ACLHE towards a learning paradigm shift in higher education. Professor, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I think life has treated me nicely because I've had the pleasure then of being in maybe the most thriving sector, which is that of education. And I'm so lucky because you have in front of you the title then, which is really of concern, okay, ICLHE, because I was also, as some of you know, at the start of the LMD reform, okay. I had the honor then to be with a group of teachers then who have launched the LMD for foreign languages and not just English. And I think that gave me maybe the most interesting life then, though the moment was not proper. Algeria was living then certain difficulties. The second thing is that I think by the end of 2020, I had also the honor then of being in a pilot group interested then in ICLHE because we were also concerned about the training of teachers at the ministerial level. And I think the two collide, the two experiences collide in the sense that you see by the title, and what is of concern to me is really the LMD reform first. So many things have been said wrongly or rightly. Follow my eyes. So I would like then to start maybe with the ministerial note, which is maybe interesting then to go through it, because they said at the time in French, the reform is intended to be comprehensive in its design, participatory in its approach, progressive and integrative in its implementation. As you can guess then, we university teachers, we are really difficult to satisfy. And you can guess that we have not been happy with everything we've been doing, because I wrote in 2017 an article then with Insaniet, the Casque, where I thought that the main problem was a question of implementation, okay? And it's true, you cannot talk about a national kind of concern when at each different level, then you have the idiosyncrasies of the local. And unfortunately, that went against the system. Originally, then of course, whoops, it's my heart maybe, I don't know. The attainment then, for instance, was, it's the objective of the ministry then, talking about international standards, visibility, ranking, well, deep in it, but let me tell you, keep that aside. I think we're out of the course, okay? But there was one item in particular, which was then employability, which was not originally part of the demand. And then you have the gateways, les passerelles, you remember? not systematically done. The facilitation of students and teachers' mobility, very, very little. So you're not in the LMD, are you? Then you have the university governance. I participated with the ministry because the World Bank was interested then in the governance. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, thank you, Lenny. So the university governance marked rather nicely, except for autonomy. Okay, but of course, since we are a public sector, so you can imagine that everything that has to do with finance is not really something we can control. But academically speaking, we were. Then you have this kind of incongruity, which is the very low percentage of professional training. Okay, so we were still over 80% of the offers were academic, as if everybody will end up then going to university. Then, of course, the opening then towards the environment, very little. The academic structure, and it's true that, and this is the difficulty we had when we started. Okay, I would like to thank, by the way, Professor Al Barka, who was with me, going all the way throughout Algeria. And we were simply concerned about the specification of content, disciplinary content. We didn't say much about pedagogy. So what was then really dealing with pedagogy came later on. And then, of course, you have the some words which are dropped here and there, and one of them, it's something which has been a big issue, which were not. It's tutoring, le tutorat. Big deal, very little results. Now, of course, we have to then to speak about then the LMD assets and liabilities. So it was supposed then to go against the rigidity of training, but because of oversized classes, okay, we had only half measures, okay, because the job was not finished. We were also then supposed then to tackle a type of pedagogy which is andragogy, because you're not dealing with adolescents, but with maturer people. And that is why one of the key mottos of the ministry was then to learn differently, as if we did do it, okay? They did speak about active pedagogy, ICT, another big thing, but on the terrain, very little effect. Collaborative learning, formative assessment, interdisciplinary approaches to subject, promotion of autonomy, and once again, autonomy. So I go back then to another item which was of concern from the start. Okay, well, the committee I had the pleasure of working with, okay, we did speak about transdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, and of course the cross-disciplinary skills had then to be given then to our students. Just to give you, okay, well, this is just the peak of the iceberg, all right? To give you, in 2012, how many BA degrees were provided by the Algerian university? You have nearly 3,000 licenses, can you imagine? And something like 1,500 MAs, okay? Then they had to reduce it because at times the same concern, but with different content. Right, pedagogy. So as you can read, a persistent piecemeal pedagogy, which unfortunately then did not follow what we were supposed then to do, which is then to help students learn differently. And because then the door was not really open to something systematic and systemic, then you had a plethora of techniques of teaching. Everybody then came with their own way of how students should learn. We did not insist too much then on the personal project, all right? The curriculum, once again, so everybody was concerned about the basic skills, and of course there was a lack of congruency between the level students came with from the lycées to the level we were looking for. Can I remind some people that in the early 90s, then we did ask students then to sit for an entry exam to read for English, right? Which is not the case anymore. The BA structure, so I'm not going then to go through that, but what is mentioned behind the title of each, it's, if for instance you speak about the core teaching unit, les fondamentales, okay, so then it has to be done in such a way to develop then linguistic skills. Then you, okay, and one which was not paid attention to, which for me could allow every department then to serve a different meal to students, it's the cross-disciplinary teaching, i.e. the opening towards other departments, other faculties. Show me one which has not left the Department of English. Everybody is doing their own thing, so back again to what we were doing previously. So in that case, so what we find, and this is one of my conclusions, is that content has been then done at the expense of pedagogy. An overview then of the methodology from 2003 to today, so 20 years, and you have these three movements. First one, then I won't go then to the traditional pedagogy because, well, it's nearly repeated once again. So we have the communicative language teaching, we have the competency-based education, and of course, now we're opening the door to ICLHE. The problem is, the one in the middle, we did not pay attention to. At university level, once again, show me then something we did do with a competency-based education when in national education, kids were learning through that. Have in red, well, the main items we were supposed then to follow. But you do find here and there then a couple of things we were supposed then to do and which we are repeating, like for instance, authentic materials. Sorry. So I wanted then with this table, then by showing the parameters, okay, and spell them through time, okay, the communicative language teaching versus ICLHE. And I wanted then you then to have a look, an overall view of what we're supposed then to be doing, without forgetting CBE, all right, competency-based education. And there are elements then, I'm afraid to say, which are missing from today's then syllabi. I wish to go back then to something which has in place, okay? In January this year, okay, the ministry has issued then an intention, a note, talking about a reform, okay? Maybe you heard already that, okay? But you can the LMD, a 4-year degree, all right? When we have not been, okay? Because can I remind people that because evaluate then the LMD, 2006, 1.5 years after the start. 2010, there was an audit, the ministry audit. Then 2016, okay? And each time we were then looking into the LMD system, no way did we come close to the LMD. And then we suddenly jump then to another wagon. So be it. But what because it's a council which has been nominated by the ministry, they're talking then to going back to the traditional BA system, okay? And they say to draw up a comprehensive integrated study and on the feasibility of a flexible return to the classic BA system, replacing the LMD system. Easily said than done, okay? Of course, they did then raise criticism. We were okay, we would accept that no gateway was then proposed, or very little. Interdisciplinarity, lack of coherence then between the constitution of a training offer and the non-existence of internal and let alone external mobility. And my question, which I'm launching towards you, be imposed after years of teaching routines, because we're simply duplicating what we've been doing 100 years ago. Right. I'm going here also for discussion's sake, okay, try and parameters, okay, we need to go back maybe to competency-based education. We need then to emphasize then soft skills, experiential learning. We're not doing that at all, okay, we're still staying with teacher-centered, student-centered. Are you sure we are really doing something which is student-centered? Okay, what I don't like, and this trend today, where everybody speaks about wake up early in the morning for that. Globalization. Okay, so we need to listen to what's happening. Okay, and so I need to say bonjour. Inclusive education, integration of technology, not the gimmick of technology, but the technology per se. Really, when you cannot have a speed which should be the case, don't educational technology. Cross-disciplinary approaches, okay, something Professor Al-Hadabarka has been trying to impose on the system. Unfortunately, well, the mills are still there, so we're just fighting or trying then to go beyond, okay, the scientific disciplines, but no way you listen to. And one which is not least, it's lifelong learning, okay? I'm still learning at my age, so you see how young I am, and I'm still learning. Transition or not, then, from competency-based to CLHE. Of course, well, I know Annie likes then the first one, the level of applicability. So I'm trying then to oppose to ICLHE, and it's always the question, are we capable of simply applying? Okay, and you know how students then are, okay, when they feel that assessment is at the heart of the matter. Don't talk about content, but talk about evaluation. The ultimate goal, okay, what are they? Competencies, okay, so, and this is something the French have not solved. It's competence, and that's it, when the British have something else. Language development. I think people are developing language-wise. The language of students has developed a lot, but it's oral. Okay, the context, okay, and really it's not just the academic, okay, but we know that ICLHE then speaks to higher education in particular, when CBE was not, because, you know, that's happened in education. I go back to mastering then content and language. And this is something which maybe is something to be listened to because that's the ILHC proposal. The progression, where do we start? Where would we end up? So it's something we need then to talk about if we speak of this transition. I'm not, maybe it's age, a fan of ICLHE because I say that there are promises, but there are also limitations. It's not magic wand, okay? If you touch the head of the student and he starts then using content and language. But I think this is a momentum, and that's why I really wanted to say something about it. It's an opening. At the same time, because when we started with Columbia University in 2020, okay, and my friend Professor Hamada is here then to say it. Professor Aid, that something which is of importance, okay, it's maybe time to change our vision of pedagogy, spell it out, because something which the LMD has not done, it's really tell us how to teach, because we were more concerned about what to teach. Now, there could be principles, okay? Well, the first one, which is known, it's already in the title, it's that integration of language and content. Authentic materials we can't get rid of, because when you see the amount of information we get then through all sorts of digital means, okay? So we have then to take on board real life context. Language proficiency, it is developing, but we need to connect that to the subject-specific knowledge. And that is, now we're not simply talking to language teachers, but we talk about those who are subject matter teachers who use English or any other language for that matter. Interactive and collaborative, I've learned the trick. Over the years, it's always then a team, okay? So you can talk about, but what is important is it's what you can do, okay, right on the field with a number of colleagues in what they say. And that is something which, unfortunately, the reform has not put, okay, as an additional ingredient. Cultural awareness, it would be stupid then to get rid of the other's cultures. When I see what's happening then to Gaza today and how language is working against the Palestinians and how it is manipulated in French, in English, and what have you. Assessment integration, we need then, of course, then to integrate. I would be against giving marks. I hate marks. Not as a student, but as a teacher. At times then I find it stupid then being like a shopkeeper, okay, 1 plus 10, and you have 9.99, but it's not a pass. Well, thank God I was not here then to when I studied, okay, my MD and PhD, I was in the space where I was given letters, which was my mark, but I was happy with that. The ICLHE way, of course, collaboration, once again, is a must. And what the project with TC, Teachers College of New York, showed us, it's when you work close to the subject matter, teachers, let me tell you, it's wonderful. And I've seen PowerPoints, posters, which are better maybe that some language teachers might come up with. Okay, so it's something we need to then to listen to. So there are a couple of strategies here, okay, which I'm putting, but I'm not selling it, okay, by the way. So I'm not somebody who will do that. On the contrary, I'm rather interested always in limitations. So the complexity of assessment, the cultural and contextual conditions, okay? We have to know where we are and where the student is going to end up. Our know-how as teachers, of course, that ability then to provide support within the context, okay? Balanced preparedness, okay, where we give too much then for content and very little for language, okay? Language proficiency, we need then once again then to help students then get over their difficulties. The low level of applicability of some disciplines, okay? I don't know, maybe Professor Al-Dabarka can headaches than to teach literature, than to teach corpus linguistics, okay? I don't know, maybe he can give us his sentiments. There are language demands which are high, but content, when it's over-specialized, then constitute a difficulty. Well, those who are hiding in the corner and constituting then the force of inertia to any reform, to any proposal, need also then to be addressed. The resources, okay? If you have no resources, don't go there. Start changing. Teacher training, of course, time limitation, okay? We need then to find always that equilibrium between content, learning, and language development. So I'm going to end up with this, okay? So you see I'm rather quick, I hope. And to start digging in this ICLHE, because I think that we need to impose blended learning, all right? We were lost, well, during COVID, okay? We were lost. I remember that I suffered as a teacher because I was simply content with sending my lecture, but no feedback, no human feedback. It's not content feedback, but just seeing my students would have been of good help. Global collaboration. We're not alone in this world. Okay, when I see that it's not always easy then to speak to people outside, okay, I wish maybe here to simply open up a second, because I've lost a very good friend of mine yesterday, who is a Maltese. We're starting then working at a professional level in 1995. Some people maybe were born after. A good friend of mine who is really a key figure in education in the Mediterranean, okay? Professor Ronald Sultana. Technology integration, part and parcel of training. Professional development, okay? Something I've learned, I'm just like Jean Gabin, who said, la seule chose que je sais, c'est que je ne sais pas. The challenges. I think there are, and you know that one thing which is important is which data are we collect when we start this blended learning? When we don't know everything which concerns Algeria, and you have always then to look for another source then to be informed about your own country. Soft skills. Okay, this is another opening. So you see, we are really far from then the per se. Inclusive and diverse education. Okay, so we need then to propose more if we are capable. Lifelong learning, of course. Now this is something as and look at idiosyncrasies when we speak to our students. Not every single student has the same pattern of learning and learning. So learning is maybe a key issue we need then to speak. And of course, stop then learning for the sake of learning. We need to start project-based education and learning. Thanks so much. "29 minutes, 17 seconds. Good luck. هيا ما تقولش باللي ما كاش.
Thank you, Professor, for that very interesting historical, critical overview of Algerian higher education pedagogical trends in relation to the LMD system. And appreciated the way you highlighted the shortcomings, one of which is actually the prospective colliding of LMD and ACLHE. Pointing out the student-centeredness going out of the university premises, inclusive education, educational technology, and also the last part, which to me was the most actually interesting one, that is the analysis of that pedagogical and social context we need to observe for the implementation of now this new reform related to ACLHE. Thank you very much, Professor. And now we move to the second speaker,